Okay. Are we up? Okay. I'm sorry about being late getting the live started. We were trying to go with the new camera, and I did a couple of tests at home this past weekend, and it worked okay. But for some reason today, the computer wouldn't recognize the camera, so we'll have to try it again. But we went to. I know with the new camera, the picture is going to be a lot better. It won't be near as dark. I'm going to pull the live up here so I can see your comments. Then we'll get started. This is Lola that I'm riding, that I'll be working. And I did, this is the one that had the MagnaWave treatment and had some soreness issues. And we're going to talk about that whole process and answer any questions that you have about the process. And again, I'm sorry about running late. We were trying to work off the new camera, but for some reason the computer wouldn't recognize the camera. We'll keep working on it. I know the picture is going to be much better with the new camera, so we'll eventually get there. Again, this is Lola. This is the one that had some soreness issues. We had the MagnaWave treatment done with her, and I want to show you where she's at now. She's probably going to be going home here in the next couple of days. The owner is going to keep up with her treatment and what she needs, and I'll be answering any questions that you have about her and about about her treatment and what we've done and all that kind of stuff. We trotted her for a long time yesterday, and I'm interested to see if she looks like she has any soreness from that. But by far, it was longer than what we had before. But we're trying to build up some muscle, which is going to help the issue, but might cause some soreness on the way. She's watching herself on TV. She's had a much better attitude. She will kind of have a little grouchy episode once in a while, but I think a lot of that is her remembering that it hurt and kind of expecting that pain to come. So we have to work through that, let her understand that it's not going to hurt anymore, and work through from there. I really think she's going to end up being a pretty nice horse. So kind of to recap for those of you that haven't seen the whole series, when she first came in, her movement was horrible. Moving terrible in the back, moving terrible in the front, really grouchy, pinning her ears, bucking, just really, really bad attitude. Did a few things. I came to the conclusion that it was more than just bad attitude. There was some medical things going on. And I try to at least get an idea of what I think a problem is before I bring in a specialist, because that helps me to bring in the right specialist. Now she's kind of rooting on the bit. This is something that I'll be working on today that she's probably going to complain a little bit about, but that's okay. So I felt like it was an issue that MagnaWave would help. I felt like it was a muscle issue. Anytime a horse is sore in an area, there's always going to be, let's get a little bit of contact with her face, there's always going to be some compensation in the diagonal side. So her issue is front left and back right. Sometimes they both look sore, and you have to kind of work through which is the problem. It was obvious watching her move that there was some stuff going on in the back end. But I really suspected the problem actually came from the front. And I had MagnaWave done, and she confirmed my suspicions because she could isolate where the problem was. The problem was in the shoulder, and the muscles in the shoulder were pinching some nerves. Did the MagnaWave that helped to loosen the muscles. Since then, we have been currying on her a good bit, trying to help those muscles relax. Basically, it's just like a person when you have a muscle cramped around a nerve. It's the exact same thing. So we've been trying to relax the muscle. I gave her 1 gram of bute, I think a total of 3 times since she's been here, just to kind of help with some inflammation. And that's the only medication that she's had. Mainly just been working on trying to relax those muscles. Now, we have been working on building up her back muscles, getting her to engage the back end a little bit more, which is going to take some of the pressure off of the shoulders, and that's why we're getting some of this. I'm going to just kind of take a hold of her face and ask her to just get off of my hands. I'm not really going to pull. I'm just going to set my hands and ask her to walk forward. We're going to walk in a little bit of a circle just to kind of get her soft to my hands a little bit. I'm sure she is a little bit muscle sore from building the muscles that we've been building. I'm sure she still has some muscle soreness from the original problem, but we have to work through all that so that we can help her. Basically, she's in like a physical therapy type stage. Is there any questions come up yet, Melinda, I need to address? Okay, that's all right. So if you have any questions about her, put them up, and we'll try to answer. I'll try to get to as many as I can. And put in the comments where you're watching from. It's always interesting when I go back and look at the comments and see where everybody's watching from. I have the live up on the TV over here. Let's see if my gelding is front left, rear right as well. He needs chiro regularly now. And chiropractic work is, Tim, what brand of forage hay do you feed? I'll answer that in a minute. Chiropractic work is really good for the right thing, and just like MagnaWave is really good for the right thing. I use chiropractic when I think the issue is more alignment skeletal. I use MagnaWave when I think the issue is more muscular nervous system. That's kind of generally what I go to, but that's not hard rules. And Ty, thanks for watching. What kind of forage hay do I use? I am on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Alfalfa will not grow in my area. What grows here is Bermuda and Bahia. And I know people in other parts of the country are real anti-Bahia, but that is what grows natural here. And that Bahia Bermuda mix is what I feed most everything here. My feed program is a little different than many places. A lot of it has to do with my region. A lot of it just has to do with kind of my way of thinking about feed. I try to get a fairly large quantity of medium quality feed and hay into the horse, or feed and grass, depending on what time of the year we're in. I'm not big on feeding these real high nutrition value feeds. They say that you can get more feed in them for less money and less product, less quantity. And I have tried it, and it does work from that sense. But the other sense is you don't have as much traveling through the horse's gut. And personally, I would rather a more what would be natural food for my area to be going through the horse, processing more quantity. It's a lower calorie. Bermuda Bahia grass typically has 700, 800, 900 calories per pound, depending on the quality, fertilized, all that kind of thing. And A horse at rest needs about 14 to 16,000 calories a day to maintain their body weight. Exercise here, that usually gets up to around 26,000 to 28,000 calories per day. So I try to get those calories in a lower quality feed, lower quality roughage, so I can keep roughage going through them all the time. That's basically what is natural to my area, since we don't have a lot of the higher calorie alfalfa, peanut hay, that kind of thing. Mississippi State is doing some research on growing alfalfa further south. It's come down, you can grow it in the north half of the state. The variety of Mississippi State is developed, but it still don't grow in the southern part of the state. It's just our climate just isn't good for a lot of that kind of stuff. Watching from Iowa, good to see you, Deb. Do you feed loose minerals? Yes, I feed loose mineral salt. It's basically the same mineral that's in salt blocks. All right, going in the barn. Wants to quit. Now that isn't so much pain, that's just wanting to go in the barn. It's basically the same mineral that's in mineral blocks, but I buy it loose in a bag. And everybody gets about a tablespoon of loose mineral salt every Tuesday night at feeding time, every Tuesday evening. And then we'll also add, if we get a big weather change, big temperature change up, big temperature change down, that kind of thing, then we'll give it an extra time. So everybody gets, it's just a plain loose mineral salt, nothing special. Same thing that's in a basic salt block. And in my part of the country, and I need to get minerals in the summertime because of sweat, but a lot of horses around here quit drinking in the wintertime. And so we've got to get salt in them in the wintertime. That helps them drinking. The owner's goals for Lola. Basically, when she sent her to me, our goals were just to get her back riding again. I believe she mainly just trail rides. She doesn't show. She just trail rides. And she had been trail riding her up until I think a year ago is what she told me. For whatever reason, she got put out to pasture and wasn't ridden for about a year. I suspect this problem possibly started back at the end, and that's possibly why she wasn't ridden for a year. And I'm going to talk about weight for a little bit. And this is going to ruffle some feathers, but a lot of people need to hear this. People are really used to seeing big, fat, happy horses. And that causes problems. Being overweight with people causes problems. Being overweight with horses causes problems. And a lot of the problems that I see, her included, I've taken a few pounds off of her. Well, she was a little bit massive. And that doesn't mean that she couldn't be built up to be nice and massive again. She's still a pretty good sized horse. That doesn't mean you can't build them up that way. But she needed a little bit of work as she was building that up. And it just, the work and everything just didn't match. So put some thought into your feed program. Put some thought into the horse's body score. I did a blog post on my website. Helpwithmyhorse.com is my website, and I have a blog post there about how to body score your horse, what body score your horse should be, and a little bit about how to adjust their body score up and down. Depending on what you're wanting to do with your horse, body score would be a little bit different. I'm going to kind of set my hands. She's pulling on me a little bit. Kind of set my hands. We trot, like I said earlier, we trotted her a lot yesterday. I was trying to walk her a good bit before I trotted today. I will trot in a minute. Just try to set my hands. I'm using my legs a little bit. Every time she pulls on my hands, I'm giving her a squeeze with my calves. Not squeezing her real hard. She needs to know that I can squeeze and it's not going to hurt. A lot of what I'm doing is teaching her to realize it doesn't hurt anymore. And I know in some things that things are going to hurt a little bit. All I have on her is just a plain smooth mouth D-ring snaffle. Now she's kind of wanting a counter bend. She's pushing her shoulders into the left. That has to do with her asymmetrical development when I went to go to collect her up right here. That just has to do with that. That's going to get better as her body develops. Let's go ahead and ask her to trot a little bit. Oh, go. Let's go. Like I said, we tried her a lot yesterday. Here we go. Why do I trot her so much after just having the therapy? Well, the fix so that she gets better is building muscle tone, and trotting is how you build muscle. She needs to build muscle in the right places. I want her to be bridled up a little bit more. You see how she's kind of pushing on my hands. She's wanting to carry herself inverted. She's wanting to carry her nose out, shoulders down. And as I get her to carry herself better, she's going to build up in a little bit better and prevent the problem from coming back. Get her moving. She feels a little stiffer than she was yesterday. She's probably a little sore from all the trotting yesterday. Trotting builds muscle. Loping builds wind, builds endurance. And I know her movement is still not correct, but we're building the muscle that we need to do to get it correct. Change direction, go right again. Do I use a horse walker? I do not use a horse walker, and the reason being is, just like with her, she needs to round her body up. Needs to bring her chin in, lift her back. And I can walk them, I can put miles on them, but nope. It's not going to teach them to carry their body correctly. It's going to carry their body, they're going to carry their body however they want to carry their body. So a horse like her that carries her body poorly, if I put her on a walker, she's just going to build muscle carrying her body poorly. As I'm riding her around, I'm asking her to bring her nose in just for a stride or two to try to get her to carry her body better. I could build muscle on a walker, but I'm not going to build muscle how she needs it. It'd be different if you had a horse that already had muscle developed correctly and you're trying to maintain that muscle. It would be okay. But I'm not a huge fan of walkers for that reason. Just like I'm not a huge fan of doing a lot of lunging. There, that was better. I felt her back lift up. And she didn't have her ears pinned, so I don't think she was trying to buck. Let's go again. Just like I'm not a huge fan of doing a whole bunch of lunging, because right there, she's wanting to invert her body. Let's go back to walking and let's work that muscle. Even going to the right, she's wanting to curve her body to the left. Let's ask her to walk, and I'm going to see if I can get, let's walk, see if I can get a better right bend. Come on. Just walk. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to work a little bit of my counter bend, a little bit of leg heels. As I'm walking this circle, I'm going to put a little bit of right rein, right leg. There, she kind of laid her back, ears back a little bit. There. Might be a little bit sore, might be a little bit grouchy from expecting it to hurt. But again, it's just like physical therapy. We're building the muscles that she needs to get well. She's pushing into my right leg. Ask her to get off of my right leg. I'm not pushing all that hard, touching her with my spur, but I'm not even really pushing hard. Trying to add right leg, she's pushing into it. And there we go. Little movement. There, I'll release. She wanted to go in the barn. The door to the barn is right there. Ask again. Right leg, right rein. Pushing into my spur. Pushing into my right spur. And release. If you got any questions about what I'm doing there or why, let me know. Okay, what's the questions? Since she bucked from pain before, do I think that will be her go-to? I expect that once she learns that it doesn't hurt anymore, that she would quit bucking. That's what I would expect. There, getting off my right leg a little bit better. She still would throw a buck right now while she's learning that it doesn't hurt anymore. And while I'm asking her to use muscles, she don't know the difference between hurt because of the initial problem of the pinched nerve or hurt because I'm exercising muscles and they might be a little bit sore. So if I get her too sore, I would expect she probably would buck. So I've got to find that fine line between working her enough that we strengthen the muscles. There, that was nice off my right leg. I have to find that line between working her enough that we strengthen her muscles so that she carries herself correctly so it don't come back, and then not getting her so sore in the process that she don't want to do what I'm asking her to do. It's basically it's just like a person going to physical therapy. It hurts. You got to work through the pain, but if it hurts too bad, you're not going to go. That's basically what's going on here. So, is there another question? Yeah, it's live over here. We basically do a lot of, we do have a massage gun that we've used on her a little bit. I would rather have somebody that's a specialist in massage that would come do that. But the problem is she needs that a little bit every day after every ride. So I can't get a specialist come in every day. Just looking out in the pasture. One of my cows went under the electric tape and he's in the fence with Churro and Bebe and Flash, and he's regretting that choice because Churro is kind of pushing him around the pasture. So to answer that question, yeah, we're doing a little bit of massage. I wish I had somebody really close to me that could come like every other day, but I don't. Everybody that around here, there's horses around here. There's quite a few horses. Now, I should get off my right leg. Good. There's quite a few horses, but most of them are kind of generally backyard horses, not horses that, they're not horses that people would spend the money, most of them, on doing a lot of massage therapy and doing a lot of MagnaWave and that kind of thing. So most of the people that do that have to travel a lot in order to have enough clients to stay in business. So usually when I schedule something like that, it's whenever they're in the area. I wish I was in an area that was a little more conducive to that, but that's just not where I'm at. Now I'm getting a nice right bin. Thank you, Jennifer, for, was that a super chat? Thank you, Jennifer, for the super chat. If you don't know, for when you're feel like getting something out of these live videos, you can send a super chat, and that goes directly to support the channel. And thank you for that, Jennifer.
How do you recognize try when you're doing groundwork work and from the saddle?
How do I recognize try when I'm doing groundwork and from the saddle? So what you have to you've got to have a pretty good understanding of your horse's intent. Some horses, when they try, you can see progress. Sometimes when they try, their brain is just kind of kicking in, looking at things. And it's a little bit subjective. Like right here, when I put leg on, she had her ears back a little bit, but we got a little bit of a leg heel. That was try. Even though she was complaining about it, she did what I asked, so I rewarded. So it's a lot subjective. It's a lot you trying to figure out, you trying to interpret your horse's intentions. And it's easy to interpret, well, I say it's easy. I think it's probably easier to interpret negative intentions, ears pinning, bucking, kicking, that kind of thing. But like her, she just pinned her ears and gave me a try. Slip a little bit. She pinned her ears and gave me a try, so I rewarded it. So it's a lot of analyzing your horse's intentions. I'm starting to get a little bit of a break in pole. She's getting her pole a little lower than what I would like it to be. I'm not really trying to get it to go down, not really trying to get the pole to go down. I just want to get the nose to come in. And now that I'm getting a little bit of leg yield off my right leg, she's starting to bring her nose in a little bit. That is all softening these muscles, softening the shoulder that she was using to push into my leg and lifting her back, which is helping to strengthen back here, which will help her overall muscles and stop her problem from coming back.
Are you using white salt blocks as well as minerals?
Do I use white salt blocks as well as minerals? In my pastures, yes. I put out both. In here, I just put out the mineral blocks in the barn horses. Or not mineral blocks, we just feed loose mineral salt. And occasionally I will put out a yellow block, a sulfur block, depending on what I think we need, what I think they need. But most of the time it's just, in the pasture, it's a mineral block and a white block. And the loose minerals we feed are a loose mineral salt. Yeah.
Why is the horse crossing left rear underneath and what they're doing?
You mean this horse?
Yeah. My question is why is the horse crossing left rear underneath?
Why? What you've got to look at is not just what that one part is doing. You've got to look at the whole body. When I posted the first video of this horse, everybody focused on what the rear was doing. Problem was in the shoulder. So I just posted a video on fluidity of movement and talked about motion. And when you're looking at a horse's motion, you can't just look at one part. You have to look at the whole body. A horse's motion is always going to be influenced diagonal. If you see something here, it's influenced up here. So you can't just concentrate on one, you have to work on both. Her problem is actually right here. And softening that muscle so that it's not tense on that nerve is going to fix both. And then basically, she was wanting to stay in a left bend because this muscle was tight. It's kind of like if your back hurts and your back is tight, it's going to pull that down. Well, basically, hers was tight in the shoulder. If you imagine your back tight on the left side, it was kind of pulling back down that way. She was wanting to stay in a left bend. Well, all this work that I've been doing just about the whole time we've been filming, I've been asking her to leg yield off of this leg, which gets her to go from a left bend to a right bend, which stretches that muscle. It's kind of like if your back is sore on the left, moving it around so that you can get more straight. So that's what I've been working with her. Anytime a horse's movement is not fluid, always look at the whole horse. You can't just look at one leg or just the rear or just the back. It's always going to be influenced by the whole horse. So always look at the whole horse in motion, not just any one body part.
Somebody wants to know, did the horse have lameness worked up by veterinarian?
Did the horse have lameness worked up by a veterinarian before coming to me? No. The owner brought the horse to me and said that she wanted to be restarted. As far as, and again, I don't like the word lameness. Lameness you should be using, instead of lameness, you should be using fluidity of motion. Was she worked up by a vet because of her influidity of motion? No. I spotted her influidity of motion, and I decided which specialist needed to treat it. It was not a vet thing. And that is where a lot of people go straight to a vet, straight to a vet. Vet is not always the right person for an issue with the horse. And your horsemanship needs to be to a point to where you can look at what's going on with your horse and say, I need this person. I need a chiropractor. I need a vet. It might be a vet issue. Or a massage specialist. Or a MagnaWave. If you can't identify what the problem is, a vet's a good place to start. But a vet is not that was nice. A vet is not always the right answer to fix whatever influidity of motion is going on. If you can't identify it, then get a vet. That's a good place to start. But so many people jump to evaluated by a vet, evaluated by a vet. You should be the one doing the evaluating, and you should be the one calling the right person, which might be a vet, it might not be. So, no, she was not evaluated by a vet. I looked at her motion, and I called in MagnaWave because that's what I think the specialist that she needed to fix her problem. Any more questions? A good body score for a trail riding horse. In general, horses are rated from 1 to 9, and in general, a good body score for most horses is a 5. Now, depending on what kind of trail riding you do, you might want a 4, you might want a 6. That's where you need to read that article and see exactly what you're doing with your horse and where that horse's body score needs to be. It's kind of like if you think of, you could have a 350-pound person that doesn't do anything, or you can have a 350-pound lineman for a football team. Totally different person. Looking at the body, you still have 350 pounds, but the body composition is totally different. So when you're looking at a horse, you have to look at the composition of what you see. Is the horse composed of 1,000 pounds of muscle, or is the horse composed of 1,000 pounds of fat? Totally different. I see the same thing when people talk about how much weight can a 1,000-pound horse carry. Well, depends on how much of that 1,000 pounds of muscle. Huge difference there. And people want to put hard numbers on weights, hard percentages. It doesn't work that way. And as far as what body score you want for a trail riding horse, you can't just say. You might have a body score that is a 4, which is slightly underweight, but a horse that's better fit than a horse with a body score of 6. You need me? Okay. So there's a lot that goes into it than just trying to make hard numbers. And I am a hard numbers person. I am not. I've had to really work to look at things more abstractly, interpret, because I've always wanted hard numbers, and it just doesn't work that way. Now we're walking this circle, and while I'm talking, we're maintaining a decent right bend just walking this circle. That has worked this muscle, softened this muscle, which is the muscle that's giving her problems, and making nice progress. Thank you, Susan, for the super chat. Do I keep what? Do I keep licks in the stalls all the time? I don't keep salt licks in the stalls all the time, just like I don't use automatic waterers. I want to know exactly what that horse's intake is. You could have a salt lick in the stall and have a cold snap come through, and you don't really know if that horse took any salt intake or not. You could have an automatic waterer in your stall and not know if that horse had any water intake or not. So I do not have anything like that in the stall. We manually feed salt every Tuesday evening, and then additionally as needed, and we manually fill water buckets a couple times a day because we want to monitor their intake.
How do you feel about, I think they mentioned liniment rubs after rides?
Yeah, how do you feel about liniment rubs after rides? I think they have a place. I will use them in certain situations, but you have to know what you're doing. You can cause a lot of issues used incorrectly, but they certainly have a place, for sure. I use more ice therapy than I do liniment. I keep ice packs in the freezer, and I more use ice therapy than I do liniment. That's just my preference. I think it works as good or better in the right circumstances. I'm sure in certain circumstances liniment works better. It's just I prefer ice. Let's walk the other direction. Now let's see what kind of bend we get going the other way. Even though it looks like I'm just walking circles, I'm asking her to move her body, bend her body in the curve, the arc of the circle we're walking, making a little bit of contact with her face, asking her chin to come in. I just have a plain D-ring snaffle bit on her. I want her to kind of break at the pole a little bit. I'm not doing anything to raise or lower her pole. I just want her to break at the pole, bring her chin in. I don't think she was ever taught this, so it's kind of hard for her. But she's figured out, she's trying. And this horse, for as bad as she was hurting, has a lot of try. She's trying to do what I ask her to do. Not going to run into the rope. Let's work back up just a little bit. Let's see what we get for a backup. That'll help too. The way I like to back up my horses, I set the reins. Basically, the reins just say, don't go forward. If they lean forward into the reins, I'll make enough contact to stop the forward movement, but I want the backup to come off of lifting their body, lifting their back up. I'll start with my legs and I'll go to spurs if I need to. If you think about, if you hold your arms up over your head and somebody tickles your stomach, you're going to pull your arms down. That's basically what I want to happen here. I want to lift her back. In the process of lifting her back, that shortens the distance between the shoulder and the hip, pulls it together. Since my ranger's saying don't go forward, that has her front foot step back. By doing it that way, when she learns how to do it, she will step with her back end engaged. Let's see what happens. I've not done much of this with her because, not bad. Pinned her ears as my legs made contact. Not going to fuss at her about that. I would hope the ears pinning would go away as she figures out the contact don't hurt. Good girl. By doing it this way, that helps the foot step better, where if I have more contact with the mouth is going to push, the horse is going to push down here and get tight here to get the leverage to push, and then I'll end up with more of a drag in a foot back than an actual step back. There we go. Now there's a step back on a fairly loose rein. Get sideways and then we'll do it again. Ask her to move her shoulders over to the right and kind of pushing into the contact a little bit. I'm going to wait till she does what I'm asking for. Then release. Ask for another step back up. Make my contact. Set my barrier. Squeeze with my legs. See how this? I got slack on the reins and I'm getting a step back. That keeps her walking back with as little tension through her body as can be, since she's got a loose rein.
Given Lola's problem, is it better to work her every day or give her a day off in between rides?
Given her problem, would it be better to work her every day, or what was the other option?
Give her a day off in between.
Or give her a day off in between. So I'm not, every day, 5 days a week is probably not the right answer. And every other day, I don't think is the right answer. I think she needs to be worked 2 or 3 days, a day off, and then 2 or 3 days. I think her body needs a day off to recover, but I don't think she needs every other day off. I think she needs to work through some of the soreness that's going to come just because of the work that we're doing. And with too much time off, squeeze, there we go. With too much time off, I'm not going to build the muscle like I need to. It's just a balance you have to find there. And her schedule this week might not be the same schedule next week. And in 3 weeks, her schedule might completely change. You have to look at the horse that you have every day and work with that horse. And if I go to, that's like I got her out today, and I started by saying we'd done a lot of trotting yesterday. I didn't trot her hardly any today because I think that she's probably a little sore from that. So by walking, I think we walked out some of that soreness that she got from all the trotting yesterday. So I adjusted today's workout because of yesterday's workout. Now, I could have said that we trotted a lot yesterday. Don't work her. I don't think that was the right answer. I worked through the soreness that I'm sure she had. Probably trotted close to a solid 15 or 20 minutes yesterday, which by far was way more than we've ever trotted her. So you have to look at the horse that you have that day and work with that horse and make your judgment on that horse. It's a matter of judgment, and people want to base their judgment on hard numbers like I talked about earlier, and it's a lot more abstract than that. You've got to look at that horse and do what you think that horse needs on that day. And you can verbalize. I can always verbalize, well, this is why I did it. And you need to be able to verbalize, well, this is why I did this. And just do what you think the horse needs on that day. And hopefully it's the right thing. If it wasn't the right thing, then you'll learn from it for next time. Any more questions I need to cover before we shut down for the day?
Is there a plan or process about her moving on the bid?
You saw it right then. I was walking her. Is there a plan or process about her rooting on the bit? You saw it as I was walking around. Lifting her back up, asking for a bend, setting my hands, teaching her to get off the bit. That's it. That's how you teach a horse to quit rooting on the bit. And it's all just part of the process. And again, don't focus on that part. Don't focus on just rooting on the bit. You got to look at the whole horse. And I think that's why a lot of people have a hard time deciding what a horse needs on a day, because they just look at one thing. You have to look at the whole horse, just like the question earlier about the back end. You have to look at the whole horse. You're working a whole horse. I remember years ago, I had a horse. Every horse is split brain, left brain, right brain. And you train one side and you train the other side. Every horse, it all works that way. I had one horse that one side would work really good and the other side would act like it had never seen a rider before. And as soon as it seen me out of that eye, she'd buck. And 2 rides later, the 2 sides might be swapped. And I remember having nightmares at night because the 2 halves of the horse was in opposite sides of the pasture, and I was trying to get the 2 halves together so I could ride. So that was a pretty unique horse. But again, you've got to work the whole horse. Whatever the horse you have for that day, that's what you have to work. Don't focus on one part. Don't focus on the front. Don't just focus on the back. Work the whole horse. Every part of the horse is influenced by another part. The nose, the rooting, is influenced by what goes on in the hip. The hip is influenced by the shoulder. The shoulder is influenced by the hip. The breaking at the pole is influenced by the shoulders. It's all intertwined. One part is influenced by another part. So always look at the whole horse, work the whole horse. So I think we're going to stop the live for today. I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank everybody for the super chats. Really appreciate that. And hopefully we'll do some testing with the other camera and be able to use it next week. I know the lighting will